welcome to another day of Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month. This is day 17 of hashtag APAM. So thanks very much for joining me again on another live stream. I am doing a 31-day challenge at the moment where I have to upload live video. So I shouldn't say the word upload, should I? I should just say I have to go live every single day for 31 days of July for Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month. Now, what the heck is Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month, you might be thinking? Well, last year I published my Asexual Perspectives 47 Asexual Stories, Love, Life and Sex, A Celebration of Asexual Diversity book in the printed edition. And I did the book to celebrate our diversity across the spectrum and to show people, rather than give them textbook definitions, by way of real life examples of asexuals and their experiences to what being asexual means in terms of relationship, in terms of love, in terms of life, in terms of sex, in terms of living in this really highly sexualized world, in terms of, you know, like coming out to people and getting advice about, you know, how to come out. I asked 46 asexuals around the globe the same questions, but their answers vary quite a lot. And I think it's important to note that although we all share the same commonality of having the lack of sexual attraction, we really do have lots of different views on things. So there's quite a lot of debate sometimes between, you know, like what the lack of sexual attraction is, and sexual desire, sexual arousal, all those type of things. Like, are they the same or are they all different? How do you define lack of sexual attraction? That type of thing. So in tonight's video and the coming couple of days, I want to explore those type of aspects. So tonight I'm going to be reading from my book a few people's stories in answer to the question about sexual arousal and sexual attraction. So I actually asked my 46 interviewees, do you think sexual arousal and sexual attraction are the same or different? So I think it's really important I speak to you about this, because before I found out I was asexual, you know, I thought I was heterosexual. I didn't know any different, but I knew that I didn't really like sex. I wasn't keen on it, you know. I didn't have to have it. I had this no urge, need, or want. I also knew that I hated nudity. I couldn't stand it. I've never been able to stand nudity since being a kid. I just don't like it in anything. Hello. Arousal is physical. Well, I can get aroused using yeah, I was gonna say I can get aroused. So that's really good. Thank you for tuning in. I was going to say, in my case, I can get aroused just by thinking the word aroused. In my body, I can get aroused just by thinking about kissing as well. So for me, personally, in my perspective, arousal can be physical or it can be mental. But some people believe that arousal can only be physical. Well, I guess that... Hi, Martin! So I guess in the sense that arousal being physical is like, it can happen physically that you're aroused, but it can be mental, as in the sense that you can get aroused just by thinking of things. You don't have to have any touching or physical contact to feel aroused. Some people don't. Well, I don't. That might be different for a lot of other people. Some people might need the physical stimuli. I don't. First word I heard when I got here was aroused. 10 out of 10. Thank you, Martin. Oh, bless you. Hi, I know. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? It's really small, right? Mimi? Is it Mimi? Or is there an R in there? Tell me if I'm wrong, because it's really tiny writing, because I'm on my iPad, so I'm not on my desktop, so it's really tiny writing. Anyway, so I asked the 46 asexuals, and obviously myself in the book as well being interviewed. Mimi is pronounced meme. Oh, right, okay. I couldn't see it, so thanks, meme. Thank you, that's great, Martin. Glad you corrected me on that. Brilliant stuff. So, I am going to read some people's answers out, which may be very different to my own, but I think Asexual Perspectives Awareness Month, the whole point of it is to celebrate our diversity across the spectrum and our differences within it. It's really important. And it's really important to know all the differences, because say we're wanting to get into a relationship with another asexual, or even friendship, you know, different things can mean different things to different people. And in order to be able to relate to each other or find our sort of tribe within the asexual sphere, as it were, it's really important to know that people can have all these different experiences and different points of view. So I'm gonna read Anon's story first. Don't forget, some of the people in my book are anonymous. I can't be, but they can be. So do you think sexual arousal and sexual attraction are the same or different? This is Anon's story. Most certainly they are different. During my intimate moments with my boyfriend, my body responds like it should sometimes, but the physical arousal has nothing to do with desires to do anything with it. I have the ability to be aroused, but the inability to be attracted. So I know for a fact that they don't always go hand in hand. And I have to say, for me personally, that's the case, because I thought I was heterosexual in the past because I experienced arousal, and I didn't really think about it when I was in relationships with sexuals. I just thought that arousal and sexual I didn't even think about the word sexual attraction and what it meant. I just thought I was heterosexual because I got aroused and I enjoyed some touching, you know, and I just thought I didn't like sex. I suppose the didn't like sex should have given it away that I was asexual, but I didn't really, I mean, I did have sex with my ex, but I didn't really think there was anyone else like me. I just thought, well, I don't like it. I never called it asexuality. I never knew asexuality existed as a word or concept. And I think that's a good point as well about coming out. I mean, at the UK Asexuality conference, I'm diversing here into what I'm talking about. The UK Asexuality conference, there was a question about how do you come out, about being asexual, how do you come out to people? And there's this girl who had a lot of experience. I think she was a girl, but I must say them just in case, because obviously people are different genders, aren't they? So anyway, they said that in order to come out, you've got to tell someone how you feel rather than, I guess, use the word asexual. I mean, I years ago would have said, I don't like nudity. I wouldn't have said I'm naked repulsed. I said I don't like nudity. And you know, if I didn't like sex years ago, I would have said I don't like sex. I wouldn't have said the word asexual. So if you are coming out to people, you don't even have to use the word asexual to begin with. Or, you know, you can just tell people I don't like sex. Not everyone likes it, you know. Just, we're all different. Like, I know there's a lot of people that make analogies to food, you know. It's like some people like pizza, some people don't like pizza. The people that don't like pizza are still valid. They're you know, they're still alive, they're still valid, they still exist, they just don't like the pizza. Do you see what I mean? I don't like pizza actually, but most people do. But you see what I'm saying? So I think that person that was at the UK Asexuality conference, they had a lot of experience of coming out, because they had a lot of people that didn't agree with them or wouldn't accept them when they came out. So they had a lot of experience, and they always said to say how you feel. Don't start talking about asexuality. Say, I feel this, I feel that. So I think that's a really good way of coming out. I mean, you don't even have to use the word asexual. You could say to your parents or family or whatever, look, I don't like sex. You know, I'm not into that. I'm not that. I used to say I'm not that type of person. With boys and guys I used to meet, I used to say, well, I'm not that type of girl. I'm just not into that. I'm not that, you know, like, I went to a guy's house once, right? Really sexual guy's house. And he was cooking food for me, and I was just hanging out with him. And he started to talk about his bedroom, where it was. I'm like, okay, fine. He was showing me around different rooms. And then he was on about, and then he basically asked me about sex. And I said, you know, I'm not that type of girl. He goes, well, yeah, I do. If there was any other girl, I'd know that there wasn't true. But with you, I do. So, you know, I've always been like that for years of my life. I just didn't realise asexuality was a thing, or, you know, and it existed. So I'm so glad I know that now. But I thought I was heterosexual because I used to experience arousal. I mean, I still do, but I didn't separate that, I guess, from sexual attraction because I didn't know the difference years ago. But since my journey of discovery of asexuality, I now know what the difference is between sexual attraction and sexual arousal, because I don't get sexually attracted to anyone, but I get high levels of arousal. And because I get high levels of arousal, I onto my orientation, I put grade A as part of my label, but I'm not a grey A because I don't experience any sexual attraction. But I just think with the high levels of arousal and the way I like to kiss, I don't feel comfortable just calling myself a heteromantic, even though technically speaking, by Avon Wiki, I am a heteromantic and I'm not actually a grey A. But I just feel like I've got grey areas, which I redefine grey A in my book to be separate, to be a separate part of the greys, to mean basically grey areas. So, you know, that's where I'm coming from. Anyway, this is David's story. And his answer to, does he believe sexual arousal and sexual attraction are the same or different? I think they're different. I would expect sexual arousal to occur prior to or in anticipation of a sexual act, whereas sexual attraction is more of an acknowledgement of potential. I had to think about that one for a while. So he believes that arousal is anticipation of a sexual act, whereas sexual attraction is more of an acknowledgement of potential. I kind of get it, because he's saying you're sexually attracted to someone, but you're not, you know, when you see someone, you might be sexually attracted to someone, but you might not. But yeah, but you can be sexually attracted to someone and have sex with them. So, okay. But it's interesting, isn't it? I met David at the conference, actually, the UK Asexuality conference. He let me hug him, which was really nice. He's very good looking for a British guy. I don't get attracted to British guys as a general rule, just so you know, if you're new to my channel. What do you think sexual arousal and sexual attraction are the same or different? This is Thomas's story. Sexual arousal, while different from sexual attraction, does share characteristics with sexual desire. This is really interesting. Both indicate a hormonal need to procreate, which most asexuals, either by choice or biology, lack. Yeah, that's really interesting, his point of view. I mean, I don't ever have the feeling like I want to procreate. I mean, I am not an asexual that ever wants children in my life. I've known since 15 years old that I never want kids in my life. I never biologically want them in me. It would personally disgust me. I know there are asexuals that love kids. I know there are asexuals that have sex to have children. I know there are asexual adopt, have artificial insemination. So obviously all asexuals are different, but personally for me, I knew since 15 years old, I definitely didn't want my own kids. And I thought in that moment in time, if I ever, which I don't, but if I ever wanted them in the future, I would adopt a kid that needed a good home and to be cared for and loved. Do you know what I mean? But I don't want that lifestyle. I think having children is a change in your whole lifestyle. You know, you have to put them first. You have to be there for them and cook them and clean. I'm just not a house person at all. You know, if a guy wanted a kid, it's like, fine, you take care of him at your home. I'm going to have my home kid free, thank you. You know, that's how much I'm not into having my own children. It's like, you know, if you want a kid, if you really want a kid. I mean, I don't want a guy with a kid, but if you want a kid, my answer is go and have them at your place then. And as you can see, it wouldn't work out. So this is Andy P's story. So when they answered sexual arousal and sexual attraction, are they the same or different? They said, this is really interesting as well. In this case, I do think they differ and kind of care about them. I think of sexual arousal being a bodily response, while sexual attraction involves some kind of understanding of sexual compatibility with at least some interest involved. I think a prime example of the first is the way assault victims can oftentimes feel sexual arousal. Naturally, it's not their fault, but a bodily response they have no real control over. Now, I want to talk a bit seriously now, because I went to counselling years ago, and I had a guy when I was 15 years old. If you've read my Asexual Perspective story, you'll already know my personal story, that I had a guy who tried to have sex with me, and I was only 15 underage, and I physically stopped him. I was kind of in shock, so I didn't really say anything. I just physically blocked him from doing that. And I've had counselling and stuff, and I actually was talking about sexual arousal, which had nothing to do with that incident, and I wasn't sexually aroused when that incident happened. I was more like petrified. But when I was bringing up, I was actually, to be honest, I was writing a novel years ago, which I've not told anyone the content of, the concept of, I started it years ago, and I've never finished it because it made me not feel very good about a lot of trauma the main character was going through. And so I don't really want to say the story, but something to do with the story has a sexual arousal part of it, which you can kind of imagine that sort of element while I might be talking to it with a counsellor. And I was just going over it, and they were the ones who told me that rape victims can feel sexual arousal and that it's not their fault. It just happens involuntary as an involuntary response. But there's some people that have had sexual abuse feel very guilty and very bad that they had that happen, because it you know, it kind of like feels to them like it's responding to something in a way that goes against the way they actually feel about it. So sometimes like sexual arousal can feel stimulating, and you know, some people get pleasure through arousal. I mean, I do experience high levels of arousal, and I kind of like, sometimes, not in a rape situation, I'm not talking about that, but I personally do kind of like feeling aroused with the partner I'm in love with and everything like that. But if you are in a rape situation or being taken advantage of situation, if you want to call it that instead, then you know, you can feel sexual arousal even if you don't want to. And I think it's important to note that if your body does that or has done that, if you're watching this and you've been through that, please don't feel guilty and feel bad. It's just a biological response that some people get, and it doesn't mean to say you're a bad person or that you were enjoying it, because you weren't obviously enjoying it in your mind or anything like that. And your body, you know, wasn't, you know, your body is probably in turmoil as well at the same time. So it's just responding to stimuli. It's not saying you're enjoying it. Your body's not saying you're enjoying it. You're just responding accordingly to how your body's wired for that situation that probably was taken by surprise, you know. I mean, when I was being, you know, and a guy was trying it on with me, I wasn't aroused by him, but I didn't say no. Do you see what I mean? For years of my life, I just called that a bad experience. I didn't call it attempted rape. I found out only probably the same sort of time as my asexuality, or sort of a year or two before, maybe. I can't remember, because I blocked a lot of it out. But I think I only sort of started to come into terms with it. It's kind of an attempt to rape years later in my life, because I've just, and I don't kind of, I prefer to think of it like a bad incident that happened in my life. I always felt like that, and I always thought like that, and that for me kind of makes it not such a big deal to me, so that I can cope better with it. I don't, if how to explain it. It's like, if it's a huge deal, like, it can cloud my life for longer. But as I just say, it's a bad incident that happened in my life. It happened, I wasn't expecting it. And, you know, I didn't say no. So that's kind of why I didn't think it was attempted rape or anything like that. It's because I didn't actually use the words no. But I was that physically stunned, and that trying to stop him doing what he was doing to me, that's all I could do, you know, is be quiet. And obviously when you're in that situation, you're not expecting it, you can be quiet, because you're like, you don't know if you're going to get hurt or not, do you? You don't know if the person surprised you and you don't know what they're capable of. You kind of do freeze sometimes, and it's, you know, your body can go to flight, fight, or fight, flight, flee. Anyway, fight, flight, or freeze. That's the one I'm looking for. So, you know, it just responds according to the situation. And even if your body does happen to feel aroused, don't feel bad or guilty about it. It doesn't mean to say you're enjoying it or liking it, because blatantly you're not liking it. I mean, the mind is the most powerful thing, you know, and you react in certain situations accordingly. It's like, I've been in situations that have been quite abusive, and I've reacted differently depending on how they are. Sometimes I would fight back. Sometimes I would just go like a complete quiet person and not say a single word to that person. You know, you have to judge the situation at the time best for yourself and the potential danger you might be in. And the whole point is you've got to keep yourself safe. So you have to do whatever it takes to keep yourself from harm. I know we've gone into a bit more diverse topic here, because it's kind of going off a bit of my book topic, but it's related in the sense that, you know, arousal and sexual attraction can be very different. And I think it's hard as an asexual if you do experience arousal, because especially a lot of aromantics, they may not experience the arousal as well, because they don't tend to experience any sort of, they can still experience aesthetic attraction, stuff like that though. But I think I've heard of more aromantics, people who are not romantically attracted, and aromantic asexuals that are not they're not sexually attracted. So aromantic asexuals, the ones that are not romantically attracted or sexually attracted to anyone. So I've kind of heard more of them not being aroused, not being able to. But I just think it's really good to put it into perspective that if you do, like, I experience high levels of arousal, and I kind of I didn't get that. Honestly, when I first found out I was asexual, I never thought an asexual would experience arousal. It didn't enter my head. I kind of thought they should be separate, because arousal, I class as being a sexual thing. So how can an asexual be aroused because it's sexual? But I've since found out that the arousal is different to the attraction. The libido or person's sex drive is different to their attraction. So the reason I know, and I've confirmed it last year, is that I did date a heterosexual guy for 2 months. Yeah, I know it's kind of like far out. Why the heck did you do that? But there's a person in my book that's with a a bisexual person, an asexual person who's with a bisexual person, and they said the lack of sex didn't matter. And I just took my book and sort of thought, well, maybe there's some sexual guy out there that can be with me without sex. But I ended up being dating a psycho, actually. It wasn't the lack of sex that was sort of the main issue in the end. He was an actual dangerous psycho guy. So yeah, but I'm over that now. But the good thing about having the dating, the good thing about it is I was able to kiss passionately a guy who's sexual. He didn't see me naked. He didn't touch me with a barge pole, which is good because I'm quite a strong girl. He didn't do anything to me physically that he shouldn't be doing, which is great. But I was kissing him. I could feel the difference of me being aroused, but I had no sexual attraction. I could feel that. I'm like, this is what it feels like to be asexual, to be highly aroused through the kissing, but feel no sexual attraction. And that was a really good experience for me to have, because although I know I'm asexual, it just confirmed it and strengthened it even more. Because obviously, when you do experience high levels of arousal, it can put in your head like, eek, it's a bit like too sexual, isn't it, for an asexual? And it can kind of make you sort of analyse yourself. Like, why, if I'm asexual, am I having all this arousal? Is it normal? It seems a bit weird to me, but because I've had that experience now, it confirmed in actual real relationship dating terms. Like, I say we were dating, but it was quite full on like a relationship. But, so it was just a really good experience from that point of view. The whole experience overall wasn't good, but that was a good bit of it. Do you know what I mean? And that was the first time I'd ever been with a heterosexual and known that I was asexual and kissing them like that. I'd never in the past known that I was asexual when I was dating heterosexuals. And so I hadn't got that actual whole rounded experience that I have now. So it was good from that point of view. I believe everything you do in life, everyone that you come across, and things happen for a reason in life. And I think for me, that was probably one of the reasons was, don't ever date a heterosexual again, Sandra. You're absolutely bonking mad. I'm like, yeah, I get that. I talk to myself quite a lot like that. And the other thing was, but it did prove to myself and confirm and make me fully aware of what it's like to be aroused but not sexually attracted. And now I've had that experience, I can hand on my heart say that I know they can be two separate things. Now, the reason why I say can be is because I know there are some people who aren't actually asexual who are on asexual dating sites and in asexual groups. So I just have to make you aware that there are people in the world that sadly lie. It doesn't matter what type of sphere you're in, whether you're in the sexual sphere or asexual sphere, there are liars. So I don't want you to, you have to assess for yourself when you're talking to someone what the whole package is as to whether they're really asexual or not. A lot of us don't lie, obviously. We've got no need to, but you do get the few people that decide that, yeah, I'll go, you know, some of them don't realise what asexuality is. They think, you know, asexual means to be a sexual person. But others times they just want any dating site or any group they can to get a relationship. They don't really care. They don't, you know, it's not, they don't care that we've got feelings that we're asexual, that we don't want sex. They're just like, oh yeah, I want a date, so let's get in there. But I mean, I'm really tough in my groups. I'm very strict on who I let in my groups to make sure that in my no sex dating group, for example, I have people that do not want sex at all in there. I do run the greys and demisexuals dating group on Facebook, so obviously I've got two completely different ends of the spectrum. The ones that definitely don't want sex and the ones that sometimes might, you know. So I run two completely different, and I run the friendship group, so there's kind of like something for everyone in the groups I run. But in my no sex dating one, it's for people like me who don't want sex ever. You know, I've had it in the past, but I don't want it again. I just don't. I don't like it. I do not like it. My dream is to kiss passionately, but not have any sex ever and not have to worry about that. I don't want to be with a guy where I'm concerned that it might go that way with him because he's not really asexual. I don't want that, you know? And so I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Day 17 this has been. I'd love to hear your comments below. You know, do you experience sexual arousal? I don't even like to call it sexual arousal. I just like to call it arousal, to be honest. But there you go. I prefer the word arousal to sexual arousal for me because kind of like I think the word sexual arousal implies that I get sexually aroused towards people, but I don't get sexually aroused towards people because I'm asexual. I think that's another big difference as well. It's that's what I have to say. My arousal is not aimed at anyone. So I kind of missed that point, yeah. So with asexuals, like my sexual arousal or my arousal, as I like to call it, is not aimed at anyone. Whereas people that experience sexual attraction, the sexual arousal is aimed at someone. Do you see the difference? So if I get aroused, I can get aroused just by thinking of the word aroused in my mind, which not everyone can. And just by thinking of the words kissing, I can get aroused. And I can get aroused just by feeling it and thinking it in my body. But it's not aimed at anyone. And if I were, you know, that's the difference, which I didn't say. Sorry, I should have made that perfectly clear that, you know, if you're asexual, your arousal is not aimed at anyone. Whereas if you're sexually attracted to someone, your arousal is for that person wanting you to have sex with them. That's a huge difference. Now I've just cleared that up in the end of the video, but I just wanted to clarify that, you know. If you get sexually aroused and then you're like, oh, I want sex with that person, you're experiencing sexual attraction from that arousal. But if you are just aroused involuntary through physical touching, or you just aroused involuntary from imaging or whatever that you can't help, but you don't have any need, urge or want for sex and partner sexual intercourse, is what I'm talking about, then you're asexual. So asexual is someone who doesn't experience sexual attraction, doesn't want partnered sexual intercourse. Okay? So if the arousal is not aimed at anyone and it's kind of in and of itself, even though someone could be stimulating you to feel that way, you know, that's fine. But if you're aroused and it's giving you thoughts of I want to have sex with this person, that's then becoming sexual attraction, which means you're not asexual. Do you see what I mean? Because you're wanting sex with someone. You're getting the need, urge, or want for it. That's what defines us. Sexual attraction is a lack of wanting or needing or urging to have sex with someone. Do you see the point? Okay. Hopefully you've got it now. Anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Put your comments down below. I love to hear what you have to say. Thank you, Martin, as well. And Meme. Yeah? I hope I got that right. And I really, really love hearing what you have to say. We're all different. We all are different in our perspectives, which is why this month is so great for celebrating that. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Hit that bell icon and give it a thumbs up. So the bell icon basically should notify you every time I post a live video or upload a new video. So I'll see you on tomorrow's video, and take care and have an ace night. Bye.